How's everyone doing? Today I have a Blu-ray mail day, and they're all from Kino Lorber. If you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them and which one is your favorite from this lot. Leave me a comment down below. And Kino Lorber is a company right here that releases a bunch of Blu-rays. They've got their horror label, I think it's Redemption, and they got the Kino Lorber Studio Classics, and Kino Lorber recently had a sale. So I ended up picking this lot right here from their sale. All these were really inexpensive, except for a couple of them were newer titles that were still expensive, but ones I wanted to pick up. But let's go ahead and get into it. First up is Wolf Lake, which I think is super underrated. This is directed by Burt Kennedy, and stars Rod Steiger, who really great actor, veteran actor. He won an Oscar for In the Heat of the Night, and he was nominated for On the Waterfront. On the Waterfront, one of my all-time favorite movies, a classic, Brando 2. But this one was really tense and thrilling, suspenseful, and one of the things that I think really stood out was the casting. Everybody played their parts just perfectly. I love the couple right there, the young couple. Screen legend Rod Steiger. He's a World War II veteran, and he comes back. His son passed away in the Vietnam War, and then him and his old war buddies, they go every year on a kind of a hunting trip vacation. And this time when they get there, the normal guy that's there isn't running the place. He's somewhere else, and he has this young couple basically running the show, and they find out that this guy is a deserter. So they basically terrorize the couple. There's certain aspects that could be tweaked here and there, but overall very thrilling. And I'm trying to remember the guys where they meet the lodges. David Huffman, that's who it is. David Huffman was killed. He was murdered. He was, I think it was like a Broadway show of Mice and Men, or off Broadway maybe, but he was, it was a play for it, and he was there going to bring cookies to some of the cast members, and he saw a burglar breaking into a motorhome, and he chased him down. And the burglar stabbed him twice with a screwdriver and killed him. And he was only 39 years old. He was supposed to start shooting a TV series like right after that. So very tragic. They caught the guy, but I think he only got sentenced to like 26 years or something like that. I don't know. People like that, when you do something, just throw away the key, in my opinion. But yeah, very tragic. I think he was great in this one. The whole cast was amazing. Very tense and thrilling, them chasing them around, kind of a cat and mouse game. Again, Rod Steiger was just so cruel and tense in this role. The tension was that the whole mounting, like the whole time, as soon as he gets off the boat, he sees him with the long hair, he calls him a bearded lady. Like, just friggin' love this one. Very underrated. I would definitely recommend this one out. Has interview with actors Jerry Hardin and Richard Hurd in here too. So pretty cool. And next up is The Good Son. One thing I like about this one too is that feeling of isolation, where they're in this cabin by the lake and stuff, and surrounded by woods, so they can't really get away. And there's, you know, no cell phones and no telephones in here either. So yeah, that added to all the mounting tension. But The Good Son, this one right here is just one that I remember watching when I was a kid and just being creeped the heck out. Really good cast in here. David Morse is in here, but you also have, of course, Elijah Wood, Macaulay Culkin, any kind of evil killer kid movie. Those are one of the ones that freak me out most. Alien abductions, evil killer kid movies. Some of my favorites are Bloody Birthday and Who Can Kill a Child, aka Island of the Damned, one of my all-time favorites. But this one right here was, Macaulay Culkin is a child actor, one of the best. Just so good in this one, creeptastic. He goes to, I think, I can't remember what exactly happened, but he goes to stay with his aunt and uncle, and that's his cousin right there. Elijah Wood and Macaulay Culkin are cousins, and then he finds out that he's super creepy and does crazy things. But this is directed by Joseph Rubin, who also directed Stepfather, Money Train, which I love Money Train, Wesley Snipes, Jennifer Lopez, Woody Harrelson. And then Sleeping with the Enemy, and he did some other stuff too. Dreamscape, a few other things, but so really good director here. And I'm looking forward to revisiting this one. I haven't seen it in ages, but I remember loving it growing up. Next up is The Sixth Man, directed by Randall Miller. I believe he did House Guest as well with Sinbad and Phil Hartman. Tragic what happened to Phil Hartman. His career and life cut short. Very funny, comedic genius in my opinion. But this one, I remember watching this as a kid and enjoying it, and I remember being pretty cheesy. Marlon Wayans and Kadeem Hardison are brothers, and Kadeem Hardison is basically, you know, the lead guy in the basketball team, the big guy, and then he has like a heart attack on the floor, and then he becomes a ghost and he can like go into the body of Marlon Wayans and the teammates and makes them do incredible plays and spectacular things. The actress in here was so stunning. I always was surprised that she didn't do more things. I'm trying to remember if it says her name on here or not. I can't find her name, but she was so stunning in here. But yeah, I remember this being, you know, cheesy, fun. You know, it's a, you know, not a good basketball team. All of a sudden they become great because of the spirits right there going in there. And it's a comedy movie. There's some funny scenes in here where in the beginning Marlon Wayans is kind of like talking to himself, and the rest of the team thinks he's crazy because he's the only one that can see him at first, Kadeem Hardison's ghost, and then you know, the rest of the team starts to believe him. Yeah, I like the message here at the end too. But yeah, I dig this one. It's cheesy fun. I haven't seen it in a while. Looking forward to revisiting this one. But yeah, I remember the cast in here being good too, but the lead actress, oh, so stunning from what I remember. Next up is Celtic Pride, which I haven't seen this one in forever too. Upgrading my DVD. This one was cheese-tastic. I love the cast here. Damon Wayans. I got to see Marlon Wayans and Damon Wayans. The Wayans brothers. Got to see them perform stand-up comedy live, and actually Marlon Wayans, he was kind of a jerk. Both the Wayans brothers, Sean and Marlon, were kind of jerks. I'm gonna do a whole video talking about that, but I think they've kind of wised up as far as being fan-friendly, especially Marlon once he did like the haunted house movies, which are freaking terrible. But after that, I've seen him do more like interviews and kind of stuff that he didn't used to do. But yeah, he just was a jerk, and I heard a lot of stories about him being a jerk back in the a few years ago, essentially. But I saw Damon Wayans a few times, and he was an interesting character too. I've seen a bunch of the Wayans actually do live stand-up before. But yeah, this is Daniel Stern and Dan Aykroyd are big Celtics fans, and Damon Wayans is like a big star and playing for the Jazz, and they decide to kidnap him in hopes that the Celtics will win. And I just remember it being, again, another cheesy one, entertaining, and one I wanted to pick up and kind of you know, relive my childhood memories of it. But again, I'm a big fan of you know, the whole cast there. Daniel Stern, Dan Aykroyd. Daniel Stern did the voice narration of The Wonder Years, which is my all-time favorite TV show. Of course, he was great in Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin. Was Joe Pesci was it the Wet Bandits? I think it was. But yeah, excited for that one. Kino Lorber's putting out some really good films. Next up is The Flamingo Kid. This is directed by the great Gary Marshall. He's directed tons of great things. But the supporting cast in here was really good. Richard Crenna's in here. I believe Richard Crenna's in another one of the movies in here too. But Hector Elizondo, who's been in a bunch of stuff, but he actually plays an Italian father, although he doesn't look or sound Italian at all, which I don't believe he actually is. That was one thing I remember, is like shaking my head. But the lead actress in here was stunning too. I don't think she did a lot of work too. But yeah, Matt Dillon. I'm trying to remember who else was in here. Jessica Walter. Screenplay by Gary Marshall and Neil Marshall. But Fisher Stevens was in here. Leon, the actor Leon. There's a bunch of other recognizable people in this one. And Bronson Pinchot for Perfect Strangers was in here. A bunch of people. But this was basically, he was growing up in New York City, and he's a couple friends that are from the neighborhood decided to take him to this kind of like a beach club, Long Island Beach Club, and he kind of takes a fancy to it, and people there take a fancy to him, so he starts working there, and he kind of goes against his father's wishes. He was supposed to take a job with a friend of the father, and he kind of, Richard Crenna kind of takes him under the wing, but You know, Richard Crenna's kind of a jerk in here too, but he plays was it, I can't remember. Not it was some kind of, it's a game. It's like a card game that I always can think of more associated with older people. But this is set back in the day. I don't know if it was like 50s, 60s, somewhere around that time period. Gin Rummy. I picture like older people usually doing it, but here like a lot of the younger kids do it. That's like a big thing. They watch the people play gin and stuff, and yeah, it's got some romance aspects to it too. But a good film. I like Matt Dillon in here too. Next up are, so I've seen all of the ones in here except for two, which are the last two, which are the ones that I saved in here. Absolution, which stars Richard Burton, who was a great actor, and he was married to Elizabeth Taylor, and married twice to her and divorced her twice as well. So they had a fiery romance. And this one just sounded interesting to me. It was a blind buy. Some other people, I'm trying to remember who else was in here. Billy Connolly's in here. It looks crazy to me, but it's basically about this priest, and he has this, I think it's supposed to be like a thriller and confession. I guess it's in a Catholic school. One of the kids tells the father that he accidentally murdered his friend and buried him in the woods. And then after that, he finds out it was just a prank. And then I guess the boy comes there and I guess says that he's done it again and done it for real. And so they kind of investigate it and kind of don't really believe him. But it sounds really interesting and intriguing. And this, like, most of these ones were like, I don't know, like $6 a pop, I think, something like that. Except for the two basketball comedy movies, which were a little bit more expensive. But for that price point, I figured why not? I'll give it a blind buy. Sounds intriguing to me. They had a whole bunch of other ones that I wanted to get to, but I had to, kind of be a little bit, careful, not go overboard with it. As it is, I picked up a little bit more than I was expecting to, with 7 titles right there. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones that they didn't have on sale that I wanted to pick up, so hopefully they'll have more sales in the future. I think they usually have sales a couple times a year, kind of like Criterion Collection has a couple times a year. They have their Barnes & Noble ones, and they have the ones directly through Criterion, and then sometimes like Amazon does it too. Kino, I think, really just, their ones only go on sale, I think, directly through Kino. Like, I think when this sale was going on, Amazon didn't even have the sale prices, although they're supposed to honor it, but a lot of times they'll change the prices on Amazon to reflect the ones of the other sales, but maybe because this is like a direct company through the studio and stuff like that, they didn't do it that way. I don't know. Maybe it has to be only honored through, they only do the price match if it's like through other like big chain stores like Best Buy or something, or Target, Walmart. I don't know how that all works, but they didn't change the prices for the Kino Lorber sale. But next up is Table for Five with Jon Voight. I haven't seen this one either. This is directed by Robert Lieberman, who directed Fire in the Sky, which is an all-time favorite movie of mine. That movie is the movie that freaked me out the most. I watched it when I was 14, about an alien abduction based supposedly on a true story. And then the scene when when he's on the spaceship, and then the eye scene, and just that whole operating table scene just freaked me out, scarred me for life when I was a kid. I didn't watch it again for like 10 years, but I love that film. But he also worked a lot in TV, the director Robert Lieberman, and X-Files, a bunch of other TV shows, and he dealt with a lot of things dealing with aliens, like X-Files dealt with aliens. He, I think Expanse was a newer TV show that he worked on, and of course Fire in the Sky, and a bunch of other stuff too. He's been around for a long time, done a lot of TV work, but this seemed to be kind of a departure from a lot of his stuff. But this stars Jon Voight, and Richard Crenna's in this one too. He's also in Flamingo Kid. There he is in Flamingo Kid, right there. Of course, Rambo. He's been around for a long time too. But Jon Voight, obviously, famed actor. Of course, father of Angelina Jolie. They have a kind of a tumultuous relationship. But this is basically, he's a father. He wants to get a second chance at being a father to his children. But I guess his wife has remarried, and or his ex-wife rather. So he decides to, he works with them, and he decides to take the kids on a Mediterranean cruise. But I guess it isn't going quite as well. And then the youngest son has a learning disability, and the daughter has resentment towards him. And then the older son is rebellious, so he doesn't know how to really handle everything. And yeah, it also has Kevin Costner in here in one of his earliest film roles, it says. So it sounds intriguing, like it's going to be a good drama film. And I guess there's kind of tensions between the stepfather and then him and then the ex-wife as well. So looking forward to checking this one out. It sounded kind of interesting. Had good reviews for it. I think almost a complete 5-star, which is very rare. So figured I'd give this one a blind buy again for $6. Why the heck not? So there we go. There are the 7 pickups from Kino Lorber that I picked up at their Kino Lorber Blu-ray sale. Let me know what you think, if you've seen any of these movies, and which one was your favorite out of all of these. Again, I've seen all of them except for the last 2 right there. A bunch of these ones I'm looking forward to revisiting. Wolf Lake is so friggin' underrated in my opinion. Definitely recommend that one out. It's not perfect, but still has, again, the cast was awesome. Some good tension in there. The Good Son, it's been a while, but I remember that one being creep-tastic with Macaulay Culkin in there. And then the Sixth Man, I remember being uber cheese. The basketball comedy movies. Celtic Pride, I remember being cheesy but fun and entertaining. Flamingo Kid was kind of a good dramatic one too, dealing with life lessons, family, romance, kind of social status as well. Then when he's when Matt Dillon's working there, a lot of the rich people that are part of the club kind of treat him poorly. So that was kind of one of the aspects. And then I'm looking forward to checking out for the first time Absolution and Table for 5. So there we go. There's the Kino Lorber sale pickups, Blu-rays right there. Let me know what you think. If you've seen them, leave me a comment down below. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care.